Hi everyone, I'm your Gaurav here and welcome again to day 5 of Java placement series. Yeah, so far what we have covered is that you already know, right? And I hope everybody has watched that particular lecture, right? Or maybe the previous all lectures, right? The first lecture, day 1, day 2, day 3, and you have a playlist available, right? So search preference tag, go to the playlist, and there you'll get a Java placement, Java series for 7 days, something like this. So you'll get there, right? So yeah, anyway, welcome back to day 5, and today we will understand another important part, that what is abstraction. In the last class we have covered, but today you'll see the how you implement in coding, right? And what are the importance of it, that we will understand. Second thing, we'll understand that an abstraction we can do in two way. I'll tell you the meaning again here what the abstraction is, but just telling you we can implement two way. One with the help of interface and with the help of abstract classes. So why we have these two different methods, right? Definitely there will be a reason. So we'll try to figure out that as well, right? And then we'll see how we can implement multiple inheritance with multiple interfaces. So that we'll see, and we'll see what are the difference between implements and extends. Okay, we'll see one by one. Okay, so let's move ahead here. So before I tell you the abstract classes now, I just want to tell you the abstraction. You know that abstraction is something where we hide unnecessary details. For example, if I'm owning a car, I don't have to know about how my engine is working, right? I'll just understand how to drive it. That's enough for me. If something happens, then mechanic will understand, right? So simply, if I'm creating an application, so it's my job to understand, but not of the users, right? So users just have to use the functionalities. They don't have to deep dive into all other multiple things, right? So in the same way, abstraction is something where we hide unnecessary details and just show the important thing. That's abstraction. So you can implement abstraction in two ways. One is abstract classes. Second is interfaces. Okay, so first we will understand with the help of abstract classes, then we will understand with the help of what, interfaces. And once we'll be done with both of these things, then what we'll understand the differences, that why we have these two different methods, right? Cool. Yeah, so let's understand one by one. For abstract classes now, what you have to do is that you have to define a abstract class with the help of abstract keyword. So whenever you write this abstract keyword now, abstract, and after that you write something here, a class name, right? And then this thing. So that is simple syntax, but the thing is, what are the restrictions and what are the benefits of these abstract classes? So they cannot be instantiated, which means that you cannot create an instance of abstract classes. Getting my point? That you cannot have an object of this class directly. Then now you will say, sir, how will I access it? That you will say, how will I access it? So the thing is, you have to perform inheritance. So another class will implement this, means extend this, and after that you can use it, right? After that you can use it. So the thing is that if you define an abstract class, that cannot be instantiated, that you have to remember. And there you will have concrete and abstract method both. So now here the point comes, what is concrete and abstract method? Concrete method is something which we already know, which so far we have developed, that where you will have name and the a method body, there you have written some kind of functionality. But what is abstract method is, there you won't have the body. I'll show you the example of both. Okay, I'll show you the example of both. For example, if I write here abstract, and here I have method void, let's say I say rule number 1. Okay, rule number 1, and I leave it. Abstract method will never have a body, right? Abstract method will never have a body, but concrete method will have. So let's say I have method here void, and I call it, let's say help or something. In this case, here we are putting the body, means you'll put some content. So this is a concrete method, while this is a abstract method. You're getting my point, right? So that's what the abstract method and concrete method are. So here what eventually will happen, you cannot directly instantiate this abstract class, so you will extend this class to some other classes, right? So those classes must have to follow all the rule which you have defined. So basically you can say that in abstract classes you will have normal functionalities as well as few rules, that few common things, right? So in that case we use abstract classes. For example, somebody is implementing a payment system, there they need to validate a card. Okay, a payment card. So they implement abstract classes, that there are some certain rules that this card should be valid, or you should have not expired this thing. So all these the abstractions, right? And the system which is implementing the payment, they don't have to know about it because it's already done. So now they know, now they trust that if something I'm allowing to do the payment, they're already validated, right? So for validating a card, we implement abstract classes. I hope this is making sense to you. Alright, this is making sense to you. But now the deeper understanding you will get once you'll see the code. I hope. I hope. Okay. So now let's go to the BS code, and probably yeah, here somewhere I'll open the BS code, and our the regular folder placement development. I don't know the placement, right? Here we will write a code for day 5. So I'll write a day 5 folder, and we'll move within day 5, and here I'll create a file, let's say, which is abstraction.java. So I have a basically here a package I'll remove because I don't want the packages here, and we'll move within Java CD day 5, right? Day 5. Awesome. So now we are in day 5, and here we will implement our man method, public static void man. I hope now you know why we write public, why we write static, why we write void, why we write man, right? So now here the thing is we have a normal class as of now, which is not abstract class, but let assume that I have abstract class on top. Okay, so here I'll write abstract class, so abstract, and I'll give a class, and class name, let's say, which is let's say payment or something. Okay, payment or something. So I have a class payment here, and here what I'm doing is that now I will have few abstract methods. So let's say I will create an abstract methods. Okay, so let's say I have method abstract. So whenever you want to define abstract method, abstract variable, you have to write abstract keyword. Okay, so abstract, this method is void type, by default, and let's say the method is rule1. Okay, something like this. So yeah, you will have some set of rules which must have to implement it. So here one thing I have defined. Second thing what I want is that I will have a concrete method, the normal methods which we had previously. Okay, so let's say here I have another method which is I write public. The method name is, for example, I'll say it won't return anything, I'll just simply write it, so intro or something. And here this method is printing on simple statement which is hi, I'm concrete method. Okay, so that's what it is, right? So now the thing is what we'll do, we'll try to inherit this class into abstraction class. Okay, so what we'll do is that we'll use extends keyword, that's how you perform inheritance, right? And we'll write payment. Once I write this now, I'm having a red line here. If you'll read now, it's saying like the type abstraction must implement the inherited abstract method, right? Or which is what? Which is payment dot rule1, that you have to implement here. So the thing is, because here you have defined it, you have given a name, right? Like this is a rule that you must have. Whenever somebody want to inherit this class, they have to implement all the abstraction properties. That may be a variable name, that may be a method name. You're getting my point? They must have to. So now here I'll come back and here I'll define my rule1. So I'll put void rule1, and here you have to define the body of it, and then let's say I'm printing a message out, hello, this is rule1, something like this I printed. Okay, you can have some functionalities here just telling you for the interview perspective that how will you explain to the interview that what is the abstraction, okay, and how will you write the code for it. So I hope this is making sense to you. Now what I'll do now, I'll just create an object of abstraction class, abstraction, and I hope nobody is having confusion for how you create the object. You already know, right? In multiple lectures we have covered that particular thing. New abstraction. So now eventually what will happen, because this payment is now inherited in abstraction class. So abstraction class has the access of all the property of the payment class, right? Yes or no? So now if you want to access, you can access anything whatever you want. So let's say here I want obj dot rule1. So here rule1 will be called, and then I want to call obj a concrete method which is intro. So I can call both the things, right? And let's execute them. So Java C, I have an abstraction class here. So I'll put abstraction.java, then I'll write Java, and I'll write abstraction here. Okay, so now look at this. It's coming, hello, this is rule1, and hi, I'm concrete method. So this is how you implement abstraction in Java with the help of abstract class. Okay, abstract classes. So now the thing is here, basically here you cannot perform the multiple inheritance, right? You can have a multi-label, but you cannot perform multiple inheritance. So what is the solution? So the solution is the interface. With the help of interfaces, basically what we can do, we can perform multiple inheritance. So I'm just showing you how. Here they will allow you to perform, first thing is the abstraction. Second thing, they'll allow you to perform multiple inheritance. inheritance. So if somebody asks you a question that does Java allow multiple inheritance, so you will say no, directly it does not, but with the help of interfaces we can implement the multiple inheritance. Okay, so multiple inheritance. Perfect. Now here the thing is we can perform abstraction and multiple inheritance. So one difference you know that with the help of interfaces we can perform inheritance, but with the help of abstract class we cannot. So this is the one difference. But why we are implementing abstraction in both? So the thing is, yeah, before Java 8, before the version of Java which is 8, Java 8, we had strict rules for the interfaces, that in abstract classes you can have both the things. You can have concrete method, you can have abstract method, while in interfaces you cannot have concrete methods. You will only have the abstract method before Java 8, but after Java 8 there was some improvise, there were some improvements that came in picture, which was that with the help of default keyword you can have concrete methods and interfaces. But now the thing is, whenever you want a strict abstraction you will use interfaces, but whenever you want let's say a partial abstraction, in that case you will use abstract classes. Is it making sense to you? Help me out here please in the chat box. I want to know that how much percent you understood, you really enjoyed this entire lecture or not, right? Or you really want some good content on the same thing? Okay, do let me know. I'll be keep beating for everybody. Okay, awesome. So now here now the abstraction but and interfaces, but how will you implement the interface? So you just have to use the interface keyword. Okay, so how will you do it? You'll use interface keyword and interface name, interface keyword and name. Okay, and here you will implement all the abstract methods. So nothing, it's a sort of contract. Okay, it's sort of contract. Abstraction classes was having some features and some rules, while this interface is pure contract. That if you are trying to implement something, and again if you have an interface, you have to implement all its methods. Strictly you have to implement, right? So the thing is that if I want to perform some check, or let's say there is a pay system, okay, payment system, let's say UPI payment that we do every day. So there must be strong checks that all the previous things like validating account and all these things will be done, maybe with the abstract classes. But the payment will only work, the pay button you'll hit will only work once all the previous checking is done, right? Otherwise it should not. Otherwise it should not. So you must have to implement that process. In that case we implement interfaces, so where we perform some strict rules that if all the classes which will have this interface will must have to follow these certain rules. Okay, so there's something sort of contract. It's sort of contract. I hope yeah this is making sense to everybody. It's sort of contract. Awesome, yeah. So now we'll go to our VS Code, then we'll see how multiple interfaces works. But we'll go to the VS Code and we'll implement the code. Okay, here I'll create another class, interface, let's say example or something dot Java. So here I'll try to implement an interface. So interface, not public type, otherwise we have to define that same file name. I'll just define a normal interface, and here the interface name is, let's say, a contract or something. Contract. Okay, so I have this interface. Awesome now. And here what I will do is now I will have some methods. By default all the methods are abstract methods here. Okay, abstract methods here. So here if I just show you now, if I remove this thing, abstract keyword from this particular place, so you'll see here we are having error. Without abstract keyword you cannot define any method in abstract classes. But when we goes to interfaces, here we can define. Okay, so here I'll define, let's say, void, let's say rule 1. The same thing I'm defining here. Look at, I haven't written an abstract keyword here, but still this is an abstract method. Look at, it's not making any mistake, right? It's not making any mistake. Awesome. So now how do you inherit this interface? With the help of implement keyword. So you have to write implements, then the interface name, which is contract. So now here we are having again a red line. It's saying like interface must be implement the inherited abstract methods. Okay, so in our case rule 1 is defined, like here you have told to the interface, right? It's basically a reference type, right? Interface is a reference type in Java. So you told here that you will have a method rule 1, but you haven't implemented yet. So which means that you cannot go ahead. You have to implement this. So again we have to write a code here. But again we will have one error. Okay, we will have one error that I'll show you. So rule 1 here I write this thing. So now it says me that I'm just having an error. It says me that I cannot reduce the visibility. By default they're public. Okay, by default they are public. So you have to write here. You cannot reduce the visibility in the inheritance. Okay, so now here once you write the public now, so you'll get it here. So here you can have public, you can have static. Okay, only these things thing. Public, static, and default. These three keywords you can use before any variable name or any method name. So now here we will define something. Let's say I'm just writing message. So out here I'll say this is rule 1. Making sense to everybody? Yes or no? Yeah, in chat now, when I just can't see any responses, it doesn't feel me good, but I just handle it. Right. But whenever you people put the comments like you're really enjoying this entire thing, I'll be happy. Okay, and probably I'll get a different level of motivation to do such more work. Okay, so here now what I'll do is now I'll just have a man method, public static void man, and after that what I'll try to do is now I'll try to access this. But how will you access it? With the help of object of this interface example, because it's a public type, not a static. So it's a non-static method, so you have to create an object. So we'll come here, we'll write an interface example somewhere here, and then I'll write, let's say obj is equals to new interface example. So now you have object. If you want to call it, you can call it object dot rule 1. So now this will work properly. I'll just write Java C. The file name was interface example dot Java, then Java C interface example. I'm not having a suggestion. Oh, it was caps. Oh, the spelling was wrong of interface. Well, let it be here. You'll understand. Interface example. Now look at this. This is coming as this is rule 1, right? So this is coming from here. Making sense now? But how will I have, this is a concrete method. Sorry, this is a abstract method. By default abstract method, right? By default abstract methods. And we could not have concrete method before Java 8. Right? But after Java 8, we can have concrete methods with the help of default keyword. So okay, with the help of default keywords, we can have concrete methods and interfaces. Okay, so we can have. So here what we'll put it now, because now you know that you are defining, right? You're compromising the rule that you're defining here already, right? With the default keyword. So default, let's say I define a variable here, void or method void, and the method name is, let's say, intro. Again, the same thing I'm trying to implement here also. So now here we can have, let's say, south, and here I'll say hi, this edge interface. Okay, something like this. But what if I remove this default? I will have error. Okay, I will have error. Look at this. I'm having error. You cannot have a concrete methods. Abstract method do not specify a body. By default, it's what? By default, it's an abstract method. But once you put the default, it can be your concrete method. Now you can access it here, obj.intro. And I hope this is making sense to you. Yes or no? Tell me your energy. Right. I want energy. But I don't know why you feel like it's a recording class. But anyway, if you'll interact now, this can be a more positive and engaging thing. So here, awesome. So here, look at this. This is coming here, right? So now the thing is, now we know that how to implement the interface, how to extend the abstract classes. We know the difference also, right? We know the difference. Whenever you want strictly abstraction, you'll use interface, while for partial, where you can have some concrete math by default, you'll put the abstract classes. Awesome. The real life example is that when we write a code for validating a payment card, we'll implement abstraction, while for pay button, we need an interface. Awesome. Now how you can have the multiple interfaces? So the simple thing, you can have the multiple interfaces normally here. So let's say I have one interface which is contract. I will have another interface. Okay, so now here interface, and I'll write a name here which is let's say rules or something. I don't know, I'm just getting this name, so that I'm putting it here. And here I can have void rule 2 or something. Okay, rule 2. And by default it's a what? By default it's a abstract method, right? So now if you want to implement this also, so look at, that's how we do multiple inheritance, right? After one implements, we can have multiple like interfaces here. So look at this. Now we are able to implement this, but it's saying like you have to implement this abstract method. So we'll come here and we'll define it. Public and I'll put a void rule 2. So now you're able to answer that. Somebody asks you that write the code. What does it say? Syntax error. Where the syntax error is? Insert semicolon somewhere where, yeah. Probably I have implemented this thing. Oh, this thing I've missed. Awesome. So now the thing is, what I'll do here now, I'll just print a message out, and I'll say this edge rule 2. Awesome now, awesome. So now here we'll go back, and here we'll try to access it, obj dot rule 2. So basically what is happening here, we are having a multiple inheritance. Look at this. It's a multiple inheritance with the help of interfaces, and we are having multiple interfaces all together. So you can have hundreds of the classes in the same way, and which will probably help you to implement the few checks whatever is needed, right? I hope this is making sense to everybody. Now you know the differences between interface and abstract classes, and what is the difference between implements and extends. The simple thing is that if you have a class, you will have extends keyword, which is for the abstract classes. Implements is used for the interfaces. The second thing is also, in interfaces you cannot have constructor methods, while in abstract classes you can have constructor methods. Okay, because there you don't have to define an object. You do not have to instantiate, right? So both interface and uh, abstract classes both cannot be instantiated, but you can have the constructor methods in the abstract classes. And I hope that this is making sense to everybody. Right, help me out here. It's just making. So I'll just show you an example also that how you can have in this way. So I'll just go to abstraction, and here if I want to define a class, means abstract method or constructor method, so I'll define it here. So you will not define any return type for it, right? So here what I'll do now, I'll just write payment, and here let's say I'll just put it south. So what eventually will happen now, this will execute automatically whenever you create an object, which means from the line number 17. So hi this edge constructor. So you can have this thing in abstract classes, but while you cannot have an interfaces. Making sense to you? Tell me everybody, how was the lecture? Did you get everything of it? Okay, so now here it's compiled. Now I'll just try to run this Java, right? You know why I do this always? Because the reason I want to tell you every time that you use compiler and interpreter both in Java. That's why I do it. Okay, so look at this is working fine. Automatically has this is constructor which has been called. But whenever you try to do it in the interface, it won't work. So let's go to the interfaces here, and I'll try to create that particular thing, and that simply will not work. So here if I put it this rules now, and here I try to define the constructor, you cannot have. Okay, you cannot have. So hi this edge constructor, so you cannot have. Simply you cannot have. Okay, you cannot have. So that's the thing for with the interfaces. Awesome, yeah. I hope you really enjoyed this entire lecture. But now it's time to answer the quizzes. I can't see the in chat that you people are answering. Right, I can't see this particular thing here. Please answer there. Right, and other people, it's your responsibility to validate these things. Put your thoughts there. You have a positive conversation. Right, that always foster a positive collaboration. So that will be really good. Okay, so here you read all these quizzes to evaluate yourself that whether you understood the lecture or not. Here the another two. Take a 1 minute time, read them carefully, then try to figure out the answer. If you are really able to answer, trust me, you have good ability to understand the lecture. I highly appreciate that. You're a good learner. And then try to answer all these things, have the answer of them, because these are the important interview questions that can be asked. And one difference is that somebody can ask you what is the difference between abstracts and interfaces. Very common question. So you must have to remember this. And I hope you really enjoyed this entire lecture. See you in the next year. Till then, take care. Bye bye. But keep practicing.